Hey guys, welcome to the last day of Programmers Week. I hope everyone can see us. Hey Alex.
Hey guys.
Cool. We have a bunch of attendees already joining us. Big thanks for joining us guys today. So we can go ahead and get started. Hey everyone, I'm Dan. Nice to see so many of you folks joining us today for this talk in the last day of Programmers Week. I'm a QA engineer and a QA community lead inside Cognizant Softvision. You all know what a quality engineer does, but the term community lead might sound a bit confusing. So think of it as a person being close to people, keeping track on their career development, and just acting as a link or as a bridge between the QA community as a whole, around initiatives and everything, and the individual who's part of that group of people, which stands as a community. Just to get a picture of what that term means.
Hey, and I'm Alex. I've been working with Cognizant Softvision for the last 10 years. I'm a quality control technical coordinator working in automation side. That basically means that I help with guidance and I oversee a bunch of technical activities on automation side for quite a large amount of people. I also help projects with guidelines, information, consultancy, basically go-to guy on automation side.
Basically pretty much everything, right? Cool. Some background info about us, guys. So I know who's going to take approx 45 minutes of your time today. Hopefully, you'll find that useful at the end of the session. So I've started my journey in QA almost 10 years ago. I've started as a manual QA engineer for an e-commerce project inside Cognizant Softvision, and started building year after year. I've grown in a leading role inside the same project, having a team in place. A wonderful team, by the way, and I know for sure that some of the guys are in this podcast today. And just starting coordinating efforts for QA, mostly oriented around iOS technology on manual end. And during the half of the year, I've started to be more involved in our QA community. And I'm currently acting as the role I described earlier as a QA community lead. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of sports in general and nature, but who isn't lately? Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so everything started around 25 years ago. I got my hands on a keyboard from Spectrum ZX clone. And in that moment, I know that my life would be surrounded with computers and computer science. After that, long story short, finished college, computer science, of course, and I just joined QA field. And I've been doing this for more than 10 years. So, yay. That's my story, basically. And all people ask me why QA and why not programming, since I've finished college in computer science. The answer is quite simple. I just drive for quality. I like this field. And the balance that I get from automation, that's basically the best of both worlds. I also get the chance to write code, but also take care of quality. So this is the best choice for me.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I had in mind for you later on, but more on that in the upcoming minutes. Thanks, Alex. Now, what we're trying to do today is a live podcast event around our area of expertise, which is manual QA from my end and automation from Alex, and just debate on that. And why a podcast event? When all the madness started with COVID and working from home setup and everything, I think in March, Alex and we've started these recurrent podcast sessions just to have a way of keeping the communication open between folks, keeping the engagement, keeping the diversity, and just talking about various topics with the people in community, like motivation. We had a podcast around getting outside the comfort zone, which I know the people reacted really well to. YouTubing, the journey around a YouTube blog. We actually have a colleague of ours who started this when the pandemic happened. He started a YouTube blog oriented on QA. He has some really nice materials in place there. And artificial intelligence, just to go around the tech side a little bit, where Alex is an expert, becoming an expert on that area. So we're going to try to do one today, taking advantage of this Programmer Week slot. And yeah, with your help and engagement, we're going to have a good one. And as you probably noticed, there are no slides today. So we're encouraging an open communication. Post your questions on the chat room whenever you want to jump into the discussion. And yeah, we'll take it from there, and we will make the best out of it. Okay, we can give it a go. So manual versus automation, or manual and automation all together. Yeah, and definitely my vote goes to the second option, because there were always the same old debates going on between these two fields of activities, working either as standalone entities or complementing one another. So what I've learned during my years in manual testing is that if you're the best version of yourself, of what you're doing, focusing on developing your skills and mindset in order to run that area of expertise as sharp as possible, then you can become the best version of yourself. And one question that I kept on hearing and I had in mind for this period was, okay, so I'm a manual QA. Obviously, my next step is towards automation, right? In many cases, yes. In most of the cases, yes. But that's the path to follow, the happy path. But not everyone is made for that. And Alex, that's one of the area that I want to debate on with you today, and take advantage of you being here as well with me. How do you see that perfect balance between manual and automation testing, mapping on the project you've been involved to or the experience you've grown along the years?
I see it as a really powerful relationship that should be based on synergy. And it's really important for each of these two components to understand their places, their meanings, and their utility. When I see manual engineers that they feel a little bit lesser because they only do manual stuff, I'm not okay with that. Everyone has its own place in the team, its own purpose. And from, at least from my perspective, I see automation in more like helping in redundant areas and basically doing the robotic stuff, the robotic actions. And I'm not only referring to automating test cases, test runs, regressions, and so on. You can automate outside of this. You can do RPA, robotic process automation. You can automate generating reports. Basically, any step of your work can be automated to some degree. And there is a saying that I really like: "Don't piss me off, or I will replace it with a script." So
a good one.
Yeah, but talking about this, from what I'm seeing in the field, automation actually helps manual to grow and to develop a little bit more, because with automation in place, manual can focus more on the creative stuff. They don't have to do the redundant stuff. They can focus, they can go into end user shoes and do creative testing, think about new flows. They will have more time to spend being involved in all processes of development, starting from design, defining specs, and so on. So this allows for manual to express more about their creativity, their ideas, and what makes them special compared with automation, of course, being human. So this part is really important, and it cannot be replaced ever by automation, ever.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great point. Standing out those mindset related thoughts that a manual QA needs to have, and that also reminds me of a keyword that's being creativity. I know that we have Christina, who actually was a speaker at Programmers Week a couple of days ago, who walked us through what creativity does inside the QA field. And yeah, that's super important for a manual QA to have. And mapping and developing based on that will just pay off on the long run. Alex, I have another question for you. As I know, as you've been involved in the technical coordination position, or that extremely long title that you presented us in the beginning of the of the podcast. What are the main struggles that you are dealing with right now in coordinating people who are tech oriented, who have strong knowledge base in a technical area, and they want to learn and learn and learn and gather as much knowledge as possible in as short as amount of time as possible?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, from my perspective, the most challenging stuff, of course, is managing my time. Of course, my working time is limited, and the requests that I get, or yeah, I can name them requests. They're pretty, I'd say, unlimited, and it's I always have to decide where to answer, where should I join with effort. And one of the things that I've learned when I start a new track, a new direction, it's always best to prepare a successor such that if I just move on and spend my resources in other places, that area will not be affected and someone can take over. But I can say that also what's really challenging is managing ideas. And what I refer to this. So I'll give you a short story. So let's say that there is a project. Of course, there are deadlines. Situation is not so green. There are issues, and a decision has to be made regarding some architecture changes on automation. It can be on development. It doesn't matter. But in this case, I have a specific item in mind, and basically, you have two senior guys on automation. Both of them are really strong, and they respect each other. You respect their level of knowledge, their professional maturity, and so on. And there is a little amount of time. They have to fix an architecture problem, and they have completely two different approaches. And both of them are okay. I want to do my way, and in that moment, what they do, they come to you, of course. In this case, to me. And this kind of balancing, I'd say, teams, their ideas, basically team building. This is like team building. In this case, it's sometimes really hard to decide where you should stop with your intervention, what you should do, because I could say, okay, I have a third idea and just dismiss those two maybe. I could say the first idea seems lesser than the second one, or stuff like that. But usually, if both ideas are pretty similar in quality, in perspective, in their results, projected results, in this particular case, what I did was just to flip a coin. So by this, I let it fate decide. I was unbiased, and they both respected this. So I got out pretty okay. But sometimes it's really hard to manage these kind of situations when you have to take a decision now, and you will see the results in the next 3, 6, 9 months, maybe after 1 year. So this kind of, let's say, mental challenge of understanding what's next, and to just, I don't know, understand what to expect, what will the future, just have like a premonition about how things are going to be. This part is really hard on architecture side. And of course, when it happens for you to be the go-to guy, you always have to show confidence. You cannot express an idea and that contradicts a senior, and you say, okay, I think that maybe we can do this. It should work. I'm not sure. You cannot do that. So you need confidence. You have to believe in your expertise. And of course, the biggest part is the way that you manage people, the technical side. And of course, you also have to go in their shoes and understand from what they're coming, if they have any concerns, Maybe they sometimes react in a defensive way because they're scared or they have some anxiety. It depends. But it's all about understanding the project, understanding the context, understanding the engineers, and doing our best to provide the best recommendations.
And having a super solid plan in place. Thanks, Alex.
Yes.
We do have some questions on the chat. Let's go quickly over some of those. A question from Sebastian. Thanks a lot for bringing it up. In a context without much automation experience, what's the best approach to orient a client towards automation? Alex, you want to pick this up?
Yeah, sure. So it happens for us to reach clients that maybe don't have an automation team in place. Usually, it's quite easy to explain to a client why automation is useful. So this is the easy part. You'll say, okay, your regression time will reduce. Your development cycle will be reduced because you can perform faster testing and so on. The difficult part is about gaining confidence. In that moment, the best approach, I would say, is to provide a proof of concept. And if it's possible, do it on the application or the project that's specific for the client. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd also add something here. It's pretty much down to numbers and fancy diagrams via PowerPoint presentation. So pie charts. If you can prove a client, okay, by implementing the automation solution, we'll be lowering the regression time and we'll be able to submit a build in 1 week earlier or something like that. That's pretty much like a win story already in place. Besides what Alex told us already. Yeah. So pretty much that's the short answer. One other question from Karina. Thank you, Karina. I attended some project in Softvision, and each project has own processes on QA. Why Softvision does not create a common process which to be followed on each project? Even agile projects are not fully agile. Yeah, this is a pretty complex one because it's on a project by project basis. We do have some guidelines aligned for what a QA should do or training materials around processes, around every field of activity inside QA map. But as you can imagine, we once enrolling into a process, we end up using maybe client tools or having to map our mindset using the client own perspective. But having to do that is also a chance for us to expand a bit our horizons and our way of thinking. So by thinking of a common way to do all of these QA-oriented activities, I think you'll find the best in each of any one of those.
I think I can add something here. Yeah. So some guidelines there, but QA is mostly constructed as a secondary product that's designed to adapt towards development, towards business requests, and so on. It's really important for QA to be flexible. And that means that I'd say it should fit like a glove. That's my expression. Because of this, it's really important for QA to always remain flexible. When you present a guideline, if you do it really strictly and really well, I'd say with a good breakdown and very detailed breakdown, if you do this, then you risk for your engineers to always follow that track. But I would say that for at least in my experience of more than 10 projects on which I was working actively, without mentioning the ones from consultancy, I would say that for each project, you cannot apply the same recipe. So it's really important to create your own recipe for success for each project in particular. And also QA, it's a field that allows you to show your unique qualities, your unique way of thinking. Thinking outside of the box, at least for me, it was really useful in the last 10 years. Yeah, so that's basically it. It's just to stimulate creativity, but one thing that I think we could improve would be to make it to have a dedicated space where to gather all of these guidelines and share them instead of just being thrown out somewhere in the workplace, on other mediums, on an article and so on. So yeah, we could channel those in one place. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah. And I absolutely love the next question. So I want to spend some time to debate on that a bit. It's from Stefan. Big thanks, Stefan, for bringing this up. Hey there, I want to enter the QA domain and I've made some steps in this sense. So last year, I looked up an intensive 3-day course in December and I obtained a ECTQ-based certification. Since this pandemic erupted, I've learned some automation using Selenium and now I'm starting to learn API testing. I'm having a little bit of hard time finding a job and I wanted to ask you if I made the right approach learning automation even though I have no experience. Thanks. Awesome question, Stefan. Yeah, so I'd like to share some thoughts on this because I want to underline a bit the importance of manual testing and how the manual testing puts down the basis in what you are trying to do afterwards when deciding to transition towards automation. At least these are my 2 cents on it. So what I've learned during my experience as a QA engineer starting in manual is there are a couple of points that you need to look over. First off, you need to fully understand the business of the project you go into. Ask questions, or should I say, ask the right questions. Have ownership on things. Show the best quality of the areas you work. All of this can be done as a manual QA engineer. And after you gain some more experience, come up with ideas around processes, around execution, around strategy. Of course, experience is needed, but it will come along the way. And the most important one is to be productive, to make yourself heard inside the project you are involved into. But as a recommendation, you need to have some strong manual grounds in order to then be able to transition to automation position. I also have an example of this one. I've been involved into a project who had dedicated manual QA engineers and dedicated automation team. So each of these teams were handling specific tasks and they had specific mindset to deliver product. And I've seen manual folks ramping under the same project from a manual position to an automation position in no time with extremely good results. And the potential, think of it as a potential project switch for an engineer who needs to put down bases from the manual standpoint, and think of the value of the expertise that that manual person can bring into. It's huge, and I've actually seen cases like this happening, and if you ask me, it's a success story. But sticking to this, Alex, I've actually known you for years now, and I've never asked you how it was your transition from manual, or if you directly stepped into automation.
Actually, it was a transition from manual, and I'm really glad that this happened. I always say to engineers, automation engineers, that first of all, if you want to go on automation side, you have to be an excellent manual engineer. You have to understand the mindset. You have to be ready to take a feature or an application, write test cases for it, execute them, and so on. This is really important. In my case, I started as manual QA, but again, this was like more than 10 years ago. So it was a completely different world. Almost nobody knew about automation in that moment. And talking about selling, it was really hard to sell automation then. And I think I spent my first, I would say, few years trying to sell it to the clients. And meanwhile, I had to do some efforts in my spare time, a lot of weekends and long nights to get something ready. I created basically a framework in my spare time. I got the chance to show it and to use it on a project, and that's how it started for me. But because I had some background in programming, I was already developing my QA skills, and with the sacrifice of my spare time, that was my secret sauce. And yeah, I just got to the right people that listened to me, and yeah, I could just express myself, and I'm really glad about it. And this is one of the reasons why in our company I'm behind all initiatives for engineers to move from manual towards automation. I just make sure that their mindset, their reasons for this behind, and their expectations are set accordingly. In your case, I would suggest first to focus on the manual side, understand the QA side as much as possible, and only after that pursue automation side. Just not to get bored, of course, you can in parallel study some programming, of course, but I would say that should be the main focus. When you talk about automation engineers, they usually have two backgrounds. You either have a background in manual or in programming. If you have the background in manual, it will be much easier for you to handle the QA side, and the challenges will be mostly on the programming side, knowing how to handle technical stuff. But also, if you come from programming towards automation, the challenge is to understand the QA side. And if you go into this field from this direction without properly understanding, and the fact that you have to also be capable of doing manual labor on QA side, then you will bump roads, walls, and it will be really hard for you to advance. But I would say start slow, have some small short-term objectives. Try if you have difficulties getting on, let's say, in the game of manual QA, I would say just pick some website or pick an application and just apply what you have learned. Create some sort of small portfolio that you can present in an interview. Because I'm guessing that it shouldn't be a problem for you to get to the interviews, but it's mostly about convincing that you're capable without having the experience behind. So just like simulating your experience, just like I did with creating a framework in my spare time, I think it's worth for you.
Yeah, and my two cents of that is that manual plays like a crucial part in it. At least that's what I've learned out of my experiences. As I said before, that perfect world of having a project with dedicated manual folks and dedicated automation folks. That's the perfect world. But we all know that the world is not perfect. So we're gonna end up having projects where you'll maybe find a hybrid role. And if you have some solid manual background, it's going to be a walk in the park for you to handle those manual specific tasks, at least if you're a project starter or in the beginning of a project where you need to put down projects, when you need to put down bases, test inventory, you need to look up into tools. Because manual testing doesn't mean you only execute tests and that's it. It means a lot more than that. You need to have a proper mindset. You can expand your area of knowledge and expertise around everything, mobile, web, API, learn tools and stuff like that. But again, if you have this solid ground and at some point you decide to walk towards automation, I think this is the perfect story to take and to follow. And yeah, you're on the driver's seat for what that means, a transition from manual to automation seat, because it requires a lot of work. As I've seen it happening, as I've been involved in some of those paths, as we have some programs going on inside Softvision. But yeah, this is the success story, if you ask me. Yeah, and again, love the question, guys. The debate is on fire. So yeah, really into it. Cool.
Yeah, should we go to the next question?
Yeah, Joanna was only underlying. Thanks, Joanna, for jumping in. Yeah, we're not second, even if sometimes we should not propagate it as people get disappointed. Yeah, that's what I was trying to underline and to make sure we've make ourselves heard. Thanks, Joanna. Cool. Alex, want to go a bit into the tech part of it, artificial intelligence, AI. Just walk us through minutes, because I know that you are coordinating an automation AI specific group. I'm just curious on what are you guys doing at this point, and what are the future plans for bringing this up to life and go into the practical world where I know everyone likes seeing robots doing all kind of stuff.
Okay, I will keep this short because I can see our questions keep on coming, which is awesome, by the way, guys. Thank you. So again, we have challenges. I said the main challenge is about finding the right time for it, because of course we have our regular work, and this part of research in IE, it's more like and that's just a hobby, but it's a secondary task, and you know what happens with secondary tasks. Sometimes you don't have time for them. So, but yeah, we're basically driven by morale and the fact that we really like the field and we are passionate about it. And what we're trying right now is to understand what's the place in artificial intelligence when you're talking about QA. And there are two huge areas. One would be projects that use artificial intelligence in their development, and assuring QA for that, it's really nice. In one of our podcasts mentioned how they test a robot that clean your house by making like a square arena, and they just drop a fixed amount of dust. They release the robots and they weigh how much dust there in their reservoir. So stuff like that. This is like huge level of creativity. And on the other side is how artificial intelligence can help QA projects. In this case, there are some tools used on QA that are being developed through AI, for instance, to automatically understand the reporting side. For instance, if you have a failed test case, in what category it should be part of, if it's an application issue, if it's an environment issue, if it's just some other cause. So basically categorizing the failures and so on. And the holy grail of automation, there are some efforts trying to basically create test cases that heal themselves. So
Yeah.
this is
really looking forward to see those in place.
yeah, it's still an early stage, this kind of approach. So yeah, from our group perspective, we are just researching, we're discovering in these areas, and based on our findings, we provide guidance to engineers that ask us questions and or which they want to enter this field. So we're preparing courses, we're preparing resources for learning and so on. And of course, we are open for for new members. Yeah, so yeah, but we're still in, yeah, and we have some cool projects in mind about also writing ourselves code for artificial intelligence. But maybe next year during this event, we'll have something really nice to show.
Fingers crossed for that. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, going over some more questions. Carmen, big thanks for the question. What do you think is more valuable, automated API tests or UI tests? This is yours, Alex.
Okay, so I'm guessing you're referring to UI-driven tests because I know there is a big no in automation, never automate UI. The actual UI layouts and colors and so on, you can, but don't do it. And it depends on the project itself. For instance, if your project is mostly built around functionality, it's really powerful in this part. It has a lot of nitpicks, details, a lot of flows with a lot of variance, and the architecture is mostly based around performing the heavy load on server side and just accessing that through API calls. And let's say that's an application which is used inside of a company. So it has a small field of view of dedicated users, professionals that use that application as their job. In this case, of course, API testing will be a priority. However, if you have an application that's designed to reach almost everyone in the world, like an e-commerce application, then it's really important the experience of the end user, and you want to make sure that you have end-to-end functionalities working properly, and it doesn't matter if a feature works really well. If you have a broken entry point in the UI, that will not be usable, and you'll have a huge issue. So in this case, I would say that this is a good example when UI-driven automation, it's really important. In the pyramid of testing, of course, you have at the bottom layer, you have unit testing, then you have integration, and last but not least, in the top of the pyramid, you have system. If it's really important for the interface to be working fine, then you can use this system level and test it as a whole. If the application is too complex and you hit bumps with this, then you should split between UI-driven and API testing. But usually, if the application is so complex, it means it has a huge development team, and it should also have a QA team on its side. That would, of course, mean enough engineers to do also UI-driven and API testing. But just to summarize, it depends on the context. Again, it's really important for QA to understand the context and adapt to it and provide the proper recommendations regarding team structure, what to be tested, how to be tested, and so on. So in our case, usually when we get a new project, or even depending on for existing projects, on when they switch to a new, let's say, new cycle, we just evaluate and we make recommendations on how the team structure should be, if they're going to work on API or on UI-driven, or even security and performance and so on. And I have to stop because I can speak about this for hours.
Yeah, I was about to poke you. No, it's okay. You provided a complex answer, Alex. Thanks. Christina, thanks, Christina, for questioning us. Which of the QA sides do you consider to involve more creative thinking? Yeah, I think we've pretty much answered this one, but from my perspective, it's the creativity goes hand in hand with manual testing. Because as a manual tester, you get access to requirement docs, right? Or user stories, or what the product puts in place for you to develop your test cases or your test inventory. And from that point on, it's your show. It's your party as a QA engineer to start thinking of all the side cases and edge scenarios besides the end-to-end and besides the regular test that pretty much covers the feature functionality. So you need to be creative. You need to think outside the box, as Alex said, and you need to be as sharp as possible in listing down those scenarios, which from that point on, the automation team will start writing code upon. So yeah, pretty much creativity goes hand in hand with manual. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, and also, so when talking about creativity, we have both on manual and automation side, but they're completely two different stories. On manual side, you have creativity mostly from the end user point of view, as Dan mentioned. Yeah. But also on automation side, there is plenty of room in creativity. Unfortunately, this part is mostly visible when you reach at least mid-level. For juniors, it's not so clear. And this creativity is around, I would say, design architecture in this part. Probably now on automation, one of the pitfalls is when your team spends too much time on debugging and maintenance existing test cases, and you're not able to increase your coverage further. So basically, there is I call it the wall that you hit, and basically you cannot pass through a specific number of, or a limit of test cases to be automated. And if you want to push further that wall, for instance, instead of managing 1,000 test cases before you reach that wall, to push it to 3,000, 10,000, and so on, you will need a bunch of creativity to squeeze every point of stability, of performance, and so on. And the creativity exists, and it's around developing really powerful technical solutions that not only that work today, but will work tomorrow, 3 months, 6 months, and so on. And it's really nice after you drop a component for 6 months, you come back, you see it change with a bunch of changes, and your tests still run. That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is the complex one, Christina. So it works for both cases, but it's pretty much mapped on specifics, manual and automation. it pretty much compiles with
With
both of those.
sorry, with this opportunity, I want to ask you a little question then. And
Sure.
by the way, this is not scripted, so are you ready
Shoot.
for it?
We have like 5 minutes left, hopefully.
Yeah, but just like in 1 minute, if you can summarize one example from your experience when you had the chance to use your creativity to get better results.
Oh, I need to go back some years now. Yeah, I think around critical and important features that were being developed inside the e-commerce project that I was telling you about. The project was a huge one. It had max visibility across the world, I'd say, and the pressure to get out things super crystal clear in terms of quality was big, was intense. So I put creativity into work in thinking about processes, how to make our best version of what we are doing as a manual testers in order to deliver high quality products or features, because we were delivering like on a 3-week basis dozens of features. And yeah, creativity played a crucial part in that, in organizing processes and ways of working into making sure we don't overburn ourselves, or pretty much. That's the long story. We have another question from Leo. Thanks, Leonard. On which language I should focus more when it comes to automation? I have learned some basic knowledge about Java. It really helped me in Selenium, but I saw a need of a C++ as well. Alex, for you, please keep it under 2 minutes.
Okay, so fortunately, the space for automation is quite extensive right now, and it's in continuous development. There is enough room for Java, for C#, for C++ as well, Python, and other languages, JavaScript, and so on. I think just if you want to use a dedicated language, one of your preferences, it's okay. You can pick any of these. You will find your job. I can say that right now Java has a slight edge in the industry. More positions are being searched for on Java side, but also Python is there, C# is getting some traction, and so on. But if you're talking about evolving your career, I would say that from at least, I'm not aware of your level of expertise, but at least from mid-level, you should mostly focus on developing your mindset, improving your mindset, your architecture skill, your design skills, and so on. And when this happens, it will be really easy after you know a programming language to just switch on another programming language. It happened in my career to have to switch from one language to another in less than 1 month. But because I had experience with one programming language to a good degree, it was easy to pass through. But in this case, if you know Java, if you're okay with Java, it should be safe for the foreseeable future. However, this industry is changing a lot, so things may change in the next years. But as long as you know one programming language quite okay, and you also can handle the QA part of it, you should have no worries.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, and I think that pretty much concludes it. I don't know, time just flew by. But I had a lot of fun doing this, and it was awesome seeing you guys involved and just hitting us with all of those questions. Hopefully you found this interesting, and yeah, it's last day of Programmers Week. There are some more talks coming in, so I encourage you to just jump on those, because there are a lot of great talks, some of them focused on a technical part. Alex, it was great having you here, guys. It was awesome being here, and yeah, hope you had fun, and
Yep.
See you next year.
See you.
Bye, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.